Hey everyone, can you let us know when you can hear us and if the stream has been started?
Yeah, I've checked it a moment ago, and we have a delay of around 20 to 30 seconds.
Okay.
So people will let you know in like half a minute. But so far I've seen there were 9 people waiting for the stream. So
can we start right away or wait for some more people to join in?
it's up to you. So I have some time. We can wait some more minutes till, Muhammad can hear us. Shahid and Sohaib have told that they are here.
Thank you, Abed.
To see.
Really close friends of mine.
So I've shared it again on Twitter, said we are live now.
Thanks, man.
So I think it's fine if we
hit 10, then we will just start.
Yeah, I think it's fine if you start with your introduction and so on, and people can join.
Okay, let's start this thing. So, hey guys, I'm Zubair, full stack Laravel developer, and I have been working with Shopify for like 4 years, and I have developed some Shopify apps for different kind of clients from around over the globe. And it's been such a good experience working with Shopify. And I think it's just time to, talk about it and help people, more Laravel developers, to get on board with Shopify app development. And I have with me my mentor, Tom Witkowski. He is the maintainer and founder of Astroatomic and OpenDoor, and the rest he can tell you guys himself. Tom?
Yeah. Hey guys. So I am Tom, and possibly better known as Gummy Beer on Twitter and GitHub and also on. And I'm doing Laravel development since 2015, and have collected some experience, and have also contributed to a ton of open source packages, primarily at Sparsia, but also Titan, Laravel Core, for example, and with Astroatomic started my own open source organization, and have released Openda this year, openda.me, and it's a platform where you can showcase your open source work to others, like your recruiter or any lead developer or your friends, or only to see it yourself, for example. Always amazing to see how much you have already contributed. So check it out, and I will post the link.
Yeah, I was just thinking to post the link. Yeah.
And I have no idea about Shopify and Shopify development, so I will be the stupid guy asking all the stupid questions you possibly also have in mind. Yeah. So let's see how much knowledge we can pull out of Zubair's mind.
Thank you for joining us. Really, really appreciate that, Tom. So can we start with Shopify questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's start.
One of the first things is what is a Shopify app? How does it work? What can it do? So I have no idea, for example, what I can do with the Shopify app, and where do I have to deploy code? Is it someone running on the Shopify cloud, or can I host it myself? Or
Okay, so I will try to answer this question by providing some history to Shopify. When it started, it was only based in Canada, and so people started to using it, and it gained more traction. Then people reached out to Shopify and said, we want that thing. For example, a merchant living in Germany, he wants to ship his products, her products, using a local shipper, right? So can you tell me about a local shipper name that I can use as a reference?
In Germany, it's DHL, for example, also one of the global players. But
it's a global one. Is there a local one?
It is local, so they have expanded to all over the world, but the name is it's something with Germany, at least. I don't know.
Okay, let's take an example of a Pakistani shipment company, for example, LCS, Lepers Courier Service, right? So a merchant in Pakistan wants to ship the products using LCS, and they contacted Shopify that we want to do this, but Shopify said that we can't provide everything on our own, right? So they said, here is our APIs, and you can use it to build your own solutions on top of Shopify. So Shopify apps are basically just a code written and interacting with Shopify through the APIs, okay? And if we take an analogy with the WordPress, there are plugins to extend the functionality of WordPress, right? We install them and we get new functionality, which WordPress doesn't offer natively. So similarly, Shopify apps are these plugins which can be installed on any Shopify store, and you can extend the Shopify functionality and its behavior. But if we take the example of WordPress plugins, these plugins directly talk to WordPress using hooks or whatever approach they are using. But with Shopify, it's different. We only get their APIs and we need to make HTTP requests, and then we can extend the functionality of Shopify however we like. So the question that you mentioned about code hosting, with Shopify, you can write your apps basically in any language, in any platform. For example, you can write Shopify apps using PHP, using JavaScript, Ruby with Ruby on Rails, and Laravel. Basically anything that you are comfortable with, you can write your Shopify application using that technology stack. But with WordPress, it's code deployed inside the WordPress, the plugin code. But with Shopify, since it's your code and you're not deploying it inside Shopify, you can host it anywhere you want. And your app will be interacting with Shopify using HTTP requests. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. But primarily for shops, you sometimes need to interact with the user-facing front end. So if he takes the shipping, for example, the user goes through the checkout, enters his address, and as he has selected Germany, we have to provide, for example, the name of the shipping company, adjust possibly the pricing, because shipping inside of Pakistan is cheaper than shipping to India, for example, or USA, and all the stuff. How does this work at the end? Is it always an API request from Shopify to my Shopify app, or can I have some code running inside, or is it part of the Shopify theme in that case? Or
okay, so if we take the example of shipping, we can say that on the checkout, Shopify sends us our app a request that these are the items in the cart, and this is the shipping address that the customer has provided us. So this is the information. Now our app is responsible for talking to Shopify and also the shipping provider that we are making the app for. So we take that information from Shopify checkout and send that to shipper and get the rates back.
Okay.
When order is final, we then take the shipping information and create a label or something and print it and send out the shipment. So yeah, this is how it works. Sometimes Shopify sends us requests, and then sometimes we are requesting or posting data to Shopify that, for example, that we want to create a product using their API on any store. Then we will be sending information like product title, pricing, and also the images maybe, and then it will be created on that Shopify store.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I definitely need some solid hosting, because every user will possibly or likely hit my Shopify app.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there are apps running on Shopify, and for example, there is a huge commerce that's running on Shopify apps called Bold Commerce, and they provide like different kinds of solutions related to checkout and shipping, and also other post upsell and pre upsell things. So yeah, these are pretty huge apps, and they also need some kind of big infrastructure to deal with that. And Shopify don't want to deal with these things. They just provided the API, rate limited it, and said you're free to do whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah. So can we start with like showing off what is Shopify, Shopify Partner, and how we can create Shopify apps, maybe also pull in Laravel and jump on with code?
Yeah. I've read a question or two questions in the comments. So like, if Shopify is like Daras, I have no idea what Daras is.
No, Shopify is not like the Raz. It's pronounced as Raz in Pakistan. And Shopify is more like allowing you to create your own online store easily and just create an account, pay them some amount, and your website will be ready with little to no effort. They have free themes, they have everything. So it's on the Raz, that's like a marketplace in Pakistan where there are multiple vendors like AliExpress. They
Or like Amazon.
join, yeah, like Amazon. They join the Raz and put on their products, and we can directly order the products as a customer and get the products delivered.
Yeah.
One question that I'd like to mention here is that why should we care about Shopify app development? I mean, why should even someone consider developing Shopify apps? So one thing I can say is that Shopify is really growing big, and there are now 1.7 million. There are now 1.7 million merchants on Shopify doing their businesses, and there are billions of transactions and orders happening. Okay, and on the Shopify website, it says that 87% of merchant relies on Shopify apps. So there is a big market, and the market is also defined that these are Shopify merchants, and you can build Shopify apps for them. So, I mean, it's like a pretty niche market, and there's still a room to make pretty cool things with Shopify, and you can also develop your business. I know some people who are running Shopify apps, and their businesses totally rely on those apps, and they're making some good income out of it. And also there are lots of freelance tasks and projects for Shopify app development.
I think in this regard, it's similar to WordPress. So it's
yeah.
not the best developer experience possibly, but it's definitely better than WordPress because you can choose your stack. You can do whatever, however you want. And yeah, you just provide additional functionality to people unable to code, for example. So I know a lot of people pick Shopify because they just want to say, that's my shop. I have these 10 products and want to sell them, and everything else is just too much for me. And definitely for these people, it's cool to provide apps for a few bucks, and they can say, okay, I want to ship with these providers, and just pull them in and pay $5 per month or whatever.
Yeah, it works like that. Okay, let me just hide this comment. Let me just share my screen and maybe we can dive into some code.
Sounds good. It's the infinite restream loop.
In the beginning. Do you see it now?
Yeah, I see the Shopify App Store.
Okay. So this is Shopify App Store. There are different categories and there are lots of them. And we can maybe see for marketing, SEO, and there are lots and lots of apps for SEO. You can even see the pagination on it. So so basically I'm trying to convince some people or maybe some developers that this is worth time spending and time learning for. Okay, on to our next question. What's the difference between a Shopify account and a Shopify partner account? So when you go to shopify.com and click on maybe sign up, then you get an account and you can start your website and get on with your storefront and add your products and orders and everything. That is a Shopify merchant account that you can get when you sign up for Shopify. But when you want to develop Shopify apps or themes and other stuff, then you need a Shopify partner account. Most of the time, this is confusing in the beginning, so I thought this should be clear in the beginning. So let's head over to Shopify partners. And this is what a Shopify partners account look like. And a Shopify merchant account is a different account, and that will be later in the stream. Okay. Time to start code. We are going to use Laravel for developing our app, and we will be using a package called laravel-shopify to interact with Shopify. We can create our own solution to talk to Shopify and deal with authentication and making API calls, but this package has really dominated the market, and even some bigger apps in the Shopify App Store are using this package as an example. So we can start with creating a new Laravel project. I'm just going to call this an app that I will be working later in the future for Shopify App Challenge, and maybe also keep doing the streams and building in public. Do you like the name, Tom?
Orders furry, yeah.
So basically the idea is, yeah.
Sounds like one provided by GitHub if you don't want to imagine your own repository name. And Susanna asked if you can increase the font size a bit.
Okay.
I don't know if she means the terminal or VS Code.
I haven't opened VS Code yet, so
or
I'm not sure.
your font size at all.
Let's see. I hope that's better now.
Yeah. I can see it, but I don't know on which device Susanna is watching, so or others. But right now we have only created a Laravel app, so if you don't know how to do it, go to the Laravel documentation, and there are different ways to do.
I'm going to open this in code, and so let's.
And I think one of the things you can also do was what we have talked about switch to the other layout when our faces are above VS Code.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that. Picture in picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this could help.
I still can't see our pictures or your picture. So I'm going to create this database. Fury default. And now the next step would be to pull in that package that I mentioned, and we will then look at the configuration that we need to do to be able to install our app on the Shopify App Store, on the Shopify Store, sorry.
So are there any specific endpoints, for example, we have to implement that Shopify accepts
For the
our app as an app, or?
So with this package, all we need to do is just provide our API credentials and hit an endpoint that lets you install your app to any store that we select, okay? When we try to install it, this package takes care behind the scenes, OAuth 2, and every other thing that we need to do to perform the authentication with the store. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but so this package provides or adds some HTTP endpoints to our Laravel application, which Shopify dictates have to exist, and they hit these endpoints. Okay.
We need to provide a URL where Shopify can try to reach to our app, and then we also need to provide a redirect URL for OAuth 2, which is kind of necessary and also generic requirement for any platform like GitHub and Twitter, that we need to provide a redirect URL while performing the authentication. So next, I would be publishing the config, and we will take a look at the configuration file, how it is structured, and what kinds of things that we require to make the authentication happen. So this functionality is still not complete. I have been saying this for like version 4 or 5. So yeah, it's still a work in progress. Manual migrations. So there are some database structural changes that this package performs on our native database that we set up in Laravel. These migrations include billing tables that maybe we can look into that in some other stream that's not related to today's stream, but I'm going to make it true so that we can publish our migrations. And if you take a look, these migrations are now in place. And we have this billing related table called charges. Shopify offers some APIs to even handle the billing, recurring billing, one-time charge, and also per usage. So yeah, this package already takes care of that. So these are the routes that you are talking about, Tom, that does this package provide some API endpoints or endpoints URLs that Shopify needs to access. So these are the routes that Shopify will need to access to in order to install this app in any Shopify store. It also offers some jobs, background jobs. So for example, when a user uninstalls our app, then Shopify sends a webhook and we need to do cleanup in our database. So that task is better done inside a background task. So this package also offers that feature. This is Shopify App Bridge. It's a thing that we will need to take a look at when we are working with Shopify Polaris on the front end. We'll take a look at that later. So these are the things that we need to fill in. First of all, Shopify app name, we can just keep it as Shopify app for now.
Shouldn't
After
you
that,
use your orders fury?
Okay, let's provide that.
Just to make it realistic, so.
Okay, orders fury. Tom is furious now.
I'm on fire.
Okay, so next thing that we need is a Shopify API Key, Shopify API Secret, and we need to provide Shopify API Scopes. Scopes are part of OAuth 2, and these are like permissions that when we are installing the app, we want consent or permission from the merchant of the store, owner of the store, that what our app will be doing on their store. For example, will it be reading and writing products? Will it be able to read orders from their store and maybe even change it, or anything like customer and shipping locations, anything. So everything is behind these API scopes. If we can take a look at as you can see, these are the authenticated scopes, and we can do all sorts of stuff. We can read inventory, shipping, and users, reports, and everything. And we do need to provide this information when we are installing the app. Okay, don't ask me about this one. I totally don't know about it. What is the API grant mode offline or per users? I haven't explored it yet.
So with Facebook or out, for example, you have also a differentiation between offline and something else. And there it means if your API runs in offline mode or is offline enabled, it means that you don't need any user interaction to do API requests. So in offline mode, I can just schedule a job, for example, running 10 p.m. each day and reading all the products of your shop, for example. And with non-offline mode, if this is right, and it's the same for Shopify, it would mean that I only can read the products if any kind of user interaction has happened.
Okay. So there is per user available as well, but okay, let's move on with the thing that we need right now. So we need a Shopify API key, a secret, and we need to decide on the scopes, that the things that we will be doing with our app. And I think we are good to go with read orders, since we will be also reading the orders in Order Fury app. Okay, these are some implementation details. We can look into them later. I just want to show you how this package also helps us with webhooks, and we will also need a webhook for app uninstall event that Shopify sends us, and how these are handled. So here we can provide the Shopify webhooks that we want to receive, and what also need to provide the URL on which we want to receive the webhook. Since webhook installation is part of app installation, so this should be done right away when the app is being installed. Now let's move on to getting our credentials. the Shopify API Secret, and Shopify API Keys. I have a single screen, so I'm not sure how I will be able to hide the secret.
Just stop sharing your screen for a moment. So
Maybe I can.
No, you shouldn't show your credentials on stream, even if they are only sandbox ones or whatever.
Okay.
Keep them secret as it names it.
Okay. So in the Shopify partner account, you go to apps and then create an app. After that, it asks you what type of app you're building. Then you have two options. One, to build a custom app that will be only dedicated for one merchant. No other store will be able to install it. Okay, there are some use cases for that. For example, when a merchant reach out to us that I want a special kind of wish list implemented via an app that no app on the App Store is already providing. And they don't plan it to publish it to Shopify App Store because it's only fulfilling the requirement of their own. So in that case, we choose a custom app and we don't need to go through all the other stuff that we need for public app. And there's also a public app. Any number of stores can install this app, and this app needs to be reviewed by Shopify, and it should be approved by Shopify before it can be installed on any store. And for the listing on Shopify App Store, this is optional step if you want to list it, but every public app still need to be reviewed by Shopify. So we are going to select the public app and we will be publishing orders Fury if that happens. And then we need to provide the app name. After that comes the app URL. This URL is the URL which Shopify hits every time we will open the app inside Shopify. That comes later, but just keep in mind that this is the URL that Shopify will be hitting every time when a merchant opens our app. It might not be clear what open our app means right now, but it will be at a later point. So this URL, if I can run HTTPS on our URL. Shopify does need secure URLs for its all applications, so HTTPS is a must. Okay. After installing the package, this URL is our app URL. We can also change it to anything else. This package allows us to override this URL. And the redirect URL that we need to provide is HTTPS. And at the end, we need to provide authenticate. And don't worry, this URL is also provided by the package, as we have seen in the Shopify config file. So yeah, the authentication is dealt with. I'm going to create the app and remove my screen sharing for a bit.
Yeah.
While I can copy the API credentials to the environment file.
Could you run an artisan route list after you entered your credentials?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So we can see which routes the package has registered.
Sure. Just a second. It's the last one. Okay, all done. And we're back. We are doing route list command. Okay.
Compact option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the routes that this package provides out of the box to deal with the authentication and billing, usage charge, and also dealing with webhooks dynamically using the type parameter and then constructing a job for the mentioned webhook.
Yeah. Billing in this case means charging the Shopify shop owner, or is it related to the customers of the Shopify shop?
Yeah. So as a developer, we do want to charge for our apps, right? We want to be able to get something in return. So one option was to introduce a custom checkout using Stripe or Paddle or whatever for every developer. And then Shopify had to deal with some stuff that they offered billing APIs of their own. So we can use those APIs and charge the user, and that amount, that charge, will be included in the invoice of the merchant, the Shopify invoice. They are not going to pay us using separate cards or anything. They are going to pay Shopify, and then Shopify pays us using PayPal, and then now they recently introduced bank wire transfer.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, totally. But sometimes it's only you have to know the perspective who you are billing. Primarily, if you do things for shops and there are so many billings involved, that I think it's important to know who will pay for what. That was the primary question, so you have answered it.
Sure. So I have set up my application and I have set up the credentials, provided the OAuth scopes that I need. And let's see how we can get our app installed in any store. For example, I have these stores. And let's go to apps again. There is an option to test your app, and after that it says select store. And then we can install it on test store, on development stores, and test our app. Now a little bit about development stores and what are these and how they differentiate from the regular stores. So Shopify provided APIs and asked to do, build apps to extend the functionality, but we can't directly test on stores that are already in production and are being used by merchants. So they also gave us development stores on which we can, these are like sandbox environments on which we can provide testing for our app. And there are some limitations, like we can only create 50 orders on development store. So, and also limitation on how many products can we add so that it cannot be used for like real stores. Okay, I'm going to install the app on a Textify local store. Let's see what happens. This is Shopify-based authentication and not the app authentication. Okay, as you can see, there are some information inside the URL. There is a shop and also the timestamp. And basically it's saying that we have authenticated using Shopify, but it's still opening our home page. Let's see, let's open the store that I mentioned. Okay, if I can just find it again. Okay.
And has something happened now in our database of orders theory, or?
Yes. Let me just show you. Oh, I forgot to run the migrations. I did publish them, but forgot to migrate them. So yeah, that's why the weird behavior on the login. Come on. So this is what the store looks like. And our app is not yet installed. The reason is that we didn't publish the migrations, but now these are published. So let's head back to our app. Orders Fury. And select the store again. And try to install our app. Okay, it's the same thing. Let's see our database. Maybe we have something inside users. Oh, we have not. Okay, maybe it's time to panic now.
Well, it's crazy that it opens the default Laravel view instead of showing some ignition error page, for example.
Yeah. Let's take a look at documentation. And I think there is something that we need to change. Yeah, there it is. We need to change the home page to apply a middleware so that it redirects it to Shopify authentication.
Okay. So the whole package hasn't run at all.
Yeah, it hasn't run. It's just redirecting us to the home page that comes by default with Laravel.
Okay.
I just showed the. Oh my God. Okay. So there was one other change that it's saying next, modify the welcome. That's what happened. Right there?
I'm here, yeah.
Okay.
I'm following you.
Okay. So basically, we just copied two things from documentation of the package. First one is to change the home route. And then the second one is it's saying that you can use the views that provided with the package. And now let's try to.
But does it have to be the home / root URL, or can I customize?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Does it have to be the home or root URL, so only the / or can I use any different URL like authenticate Shopify or whatever?
Yeah, we can customize it. For example, I provide /home here, right?
Yeah.
And then we need to go inside the app settings, and then where I provided the app URL, I need to append the /home there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I could, for example, still use the domain without anything for my landing page to promote my Shopify app and.
Yes.
use any /Shopify whatever routes to interact with Shopify. Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. We can totally do that. Okay. We are getting call to undefined with trashed. Okay. One thing about this package is that it's always under work in progress. It used to be very stable, but then things got changed with cookies and everything. So we may need to struggle a little bit here to be able to install the app. So bear with me for a moment.
Yeah. This trashed sounds like it expected the soft delete trait on any model, and as we only have the user model not coming with a package, it could be the user model it expects the soft delete trait.
Okay, maybe let's let's follow all the instructions on the yeah. Okay, you will need to modify your user model, normally located, and then add these. And something else.
And then use the shop model. Yeah.
Shop model, yeah.
Could you check out what the shop model does?
Yeah, sure. It will add the soft delete thing and also
so was
other
it on
stuff
top?
like
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. Like that. Okay, I think now we are ready to be able to, because these things are like really optional and recommended. Okay, Csrf, you must disable. Can you make sense of it? Why we are disabling the Csrf for every route?
I think it doesn't have to be for everything, but for everything called from Shopify end. So like the root URL, for example, or some others where it does a post request to. And could it be that it is in the, could you scroll a bit up and it is only a sub headline of the webhooks? No, there's a divider line.
It's a separate one.
Okay.
Let's just read the description. Maybe you must disable Csrf as there is currently no solution for verifying session tokens with Csrf. There is a conflict due to new login creation each request. So let me just help you out here. Is that before this change, we were using cookies, the default thing, the default session management that comes with Laravel, right? It has 2 cookies for that.
Yeah.
But then Chrome introduced something which was same site header, and it got really messy. And Shopify thought that we should just eliminate the need of cookies. So they introduced session tokens. It's something that they provide to our apps when the app is running inside Shopify. Okay, so we need to get those tokens and then make sure that these tokens are valid, and also that information, the token contains the information about the currently logged in shop. So now that we are using tokens instead of cookies, we need to accept them or exclude them from the Csrf validation, the verification thing, so that our app can run smoothly without the cookies. Okay, so all we did was make 2 changes and provided what we do. We provided the shop model trait and also the iShop model contract, implemented that. And let's try it again to install our app. Okay. Woohoo! It went through. So
Perfect.
So this is what the installation screen looks like for a Shopify app. As you can see, these are the details that are being fetched from the Shopify authentication scopes that we provided, edit products, and just view orders, because we only said that we are going to read orders and not write them. Cool. And yeah, this is the information that any merchant can see when they are trying to install the app. And let's install the app. Voila, we have installed the app successfully, and we are also getting a message that this shop is the name of the shop. So if we go back to apps, we can see that our app is installed here, and it's also accessible whenever a merchant wants to use the app. So this is what I meant by opening the app inside the Shopify. When it clicks, it opens right inside the Shopify, inside the iframe, and here merchant can use it for whatever they want to do here, the functionality that we provided with the app, which is basically just saying that you are this store.
So in fact, all views rendered by our Laravel application are displayed in an iframe in the Shopify layout.
Yes,
So
it does.
no one will ever open our orders_theory.test and do Shopify things on this domain, but they always be on like you,
Inside the
Textify local,
Shopify.
my Shopify. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it will be, but any store can install it. So this app will be able to detect that store and then display the store name here. For example, I stored it on tom.myshopify.com. It will be tom.myshopify.com here.
Yeah. So this is what you mean with the session IDs, I think, instead of the cookies.
Yeah. These no, I think we make something here.
Could you do some simple right click?
Okay.
And inspect the iframe?
Okay. But
we all are developers, and it's sometimes.
And
okay, so
can you see it now?
Yeah, this is our Laravel application.
Yeah, it's Laravel application.
And yeah, in the URL on top, you see what I wanted to see. So you have this host where some cryptic stuff is inside, and a token and so on.
Yeah, it is. This is just base64 decoded, encoded information, but there is something happening down here, which is session token refresh interval, and then also retrieve token and keep retrieving token. This is related to AppBridge. It's something like advanced stuff. Maybe we can gradually take our audience to that point and maybe come back to it later at some point.
Yeah. I just wanted to know if there are some stuff sent to URL. So like you have there the get parameters, you have host and token and possibly some other get parameters in the URL to let our orders theory Laravel application identify which shop it has to render views for now.
Yeah. So basically, Shopify recently introduced this session token approach. Before that, we used cookies, but with these session tokens that they are providing us, we are able to identify which Shopify store is using our app. So yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And where were we? Yeah, here inside the audience Fury. And let's take a look at what's going on inside our welcome view. Yeah. So this is the title bar welcome thing that you see inside here. And what else we can look at? Okay, so it's extending the layouts.default from the package. We can take a look since we also published the views from the package. So this is here, layouts.default, and this is what you are seeing on that inspect element that we were just showing page source.
Yeah.
These things.
Even if I wonder why it sets the meta name Csrf token if we have disabled Csrf for all requests, but
it's still there.
that's a different story.
Okay, so I think next step would be to look into these things, AppBridge, and also this thing, force redirect when we are initializing the app inside the Shopify iframe. So this is the thing that Shopify provides us. It's a JavaScript library called Shopify App Bridge and Shopify App Bridge utils. Why Shopify App Bridge exists and why it is needed for Shopify app to be loaded inside the iframe. So before this, there was an SDK called Embedded App SDK, but it has its problems, and now they introduced Shopify App Bridge. What it basically does is it allows our app to interact with Shopify too. Sorry, I just got mixed it up. It allows our app to interact with Shopify. What I mean by Shopify here is these things. For example, this title bar. There is also some things that we can do inside the title bar, and Shopify App Bridge allows us to do that. And also, there are some nice toasters that Shopify offers us. For example, we can see them inside the Flash messages. So these are the Flash notices that we are able to provide to merchants when they're using our app, using the Shopify App Bridge and App Bridge utils library.
So these Flash messages are, for example, to notify the users that something has saved, for example, and
yeah, it is. And the good thing is that they look exactly like Shopify. For example, we can notice, let's do this thing, and maybe we can Flash. It is section Flash, right? Not getting intelligence.
I haven't interacted with the session since years, so.
Yeah, me too.
Wait a moment. Oh, now we have some different stuff there.
Yeah. I'm also wondering, where did that come from? It's like from the previous versions of this package, it's still happening. So I guess this is not how you flash something to the session.
How have you used it?
Session flash with session
Yeah.
helper.
And it is session flash, and the name or the key as first argument, and the value as the second one.
And if is set flash notice. Okay, I have always used Inertia.js when I'm using this package, so I'm not sure how these things are working. Can you figure it out with me?
Yeah, flash notice is just a variable, so you would have to render the view with an data key flash notice. And I don't know how and where this flash messages blade is used. Is it used by default in this default blade PHP?
Yeah,
or
it's default.blade PHP, yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the web PHP, so our routes file. And instead of using session flash,
maybe just use session.
No, just remove this whole line. And append after the view before the semicolon a call to the method with, exactly, and pass in. And now it should be flash notice, exactly like the variable is named in the view.
Oh, flash notice, like that.
Yeah, exactly. And if everything is right,
it should work. And it didn't. There should be a black pop-up right here.
Could you just do a full refresh of the page, so also the Shopify?
Sure.
Okay.
This is weird.
Could have been that something isn't any kind of cache or whatever bullshit can happen.
Let's try. I did a hard refresh, but it didn't work.
And it was flash notice or flash notice, yeah.
It's just notice.
Now this is a request get, and we haven't set it on the request. We have passed a variable to the blade view, and the variable was named flash notice. So this is set should pass, and after this it does a request get notice. There is no value on the notice key in the request, so it falls back to the second argument in the get method, the default one, which is flash notice. And yeah, so the only thing we could do is use
request session.
Yeah, or add dd or dump and the flash notice variable. But you should do it outside of the script block, because otherwise it will be only visible if you inspect the elements.
There is a dump directory, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe we should
some things. Yeah, sometimes there are some things coming with. Okay, so is the flash notice variable. Could you go back to your IDE and cut out this dump line?
Okay.
And paste it in the welcome view. It is directly, it's a content for example. Okay, you haven't copied it.
I thought I did. Is there someone saying something in comments about this?
Steve has only sent some eyes, and all others are quiet. So Okay, but there isn't even a dump round. What's a why?
Maybe
what's
we are extending the default, and this is the default. This is the flash messages.
Yeah, I'm not sure about includes because I have switched to blade components also for layouts since some time. It could be that you have to pass the variable you want to pass to the included blade explicitly, so it doesn't populate the whole context to the include, but you have to say, I want to pass this variable to the included one. So that's why I wanted to dump it on the welcome view, but because even this one wasn't displayed, so there wasn't any something on the Shopify screen. But the Shopify screen has also changed, so I don't see any of these links, for example, we have seen in this iframe. There's only this yield content, and the content we have defined in the welcome was only UR shop domain.
Yeah, there is something definitely going on with that. We are still returning the welcome page. But why did it change from this layout to something else? Okay.
Could you go back to your IDE, to VS Code?
Yeah.
And in the welcome blade file,
okay,
it says extend Shopify app layouts default. But it's on. Okay, there it is. Vendor Shopify app.
Yeah.
Layouts. Okay.
This is namespaced.
Yeah, I thought we are in the views directory, but
we are in the views directory. What's going on?
You have go back to the web. Have you changed it to /home?
No, I did not. I kept it the same.
But you have changed the route, I think, in the web PHP, or do you?
There's something wrong with Shopify, I guess. And we have app setup here.
So here you only have the slash, and in your routes file.
And in route file, it's also slash.
No, it's home. And that's why I think some package magic gets into place.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there wasn't any home route when we did the, is there? Oh, there is not.
No, you have changed it after, you have changed it to home after we have done the route list.
Okay.
You only did it to show me that we can use some subpath routing. So we could use our, and there's a dump. And there's also, now everything is working.
Okay. So I think there is some a route inside the package or a view that's left during the development, and it was rendering that, because I do remember it that this view was a part of previous versions of the package.
Yeah.
Cool.
So some fallback or whatever.
Yeah. Also, maybe fallback. So what can we do next? What can we show off?
Is there any best?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of best practice what to put on let's say this dashboard, welcome initial view. So if I create a Shopify app, should I start with here's the whole settings screen and go with it, or should I create some dashboard style things with some whatever numbers, or hey, I am Tom and here's a link to my blog and here's the latest RSS news for this app, or
I think it will be best to show you an existing app that I have installed on my store. It's called SMS Bump, and it helps us with text marketing. So we can take a look at how they are dealing with when the app is being opened. But if I recall correctly, there is another thing that we can show you, and that's external apps. So this is the SMS Pump app, but notice that it does not open inside the Shopify. So this is another thing that any app can choose to render their app inside the Shopify, inside the iframe, but they can also choose to render their app outside of the Shopify. So what will happen when you click here, Shopify will send you some authentication along with the request. Authentication is still happening on the Shopify side, but the app is not loading inside the iframe. Make sense? So yeah, there is a setting for that. If we can go to app setup. Come on. Embedded app. Show your app within Shopify. So you can manage it from here, and you can configure it and disable it from here. And your app will then be rendered outside of the Shopify, but it will still be authenticated using Shopify.
Okay.
So this app used to be rendered inside the Shopify iframe, and this is what their dashboard and navigation looks like. So you can also, when your app is open inside Shopify, you can also present users with some dashboard, some statistics, and after that you can provide a navigation, and user can navigate inside your app, just like a regular app.
Okay.
Any other question about this?
I think we should or could go now with its orders theory. So something like number of orders last 24 hours, last week, month, whatever. So we interact with the Shopify API, read some whatever endpoints, and do a count on it.
Cool. So what we can do is, I'm not going to show my access token. Just know that inside the users table, open structure, we have this Shopify domain name inside the name attribute, and then the access token for that particular store that we install the app on is inside the password field. So we can make our API calls and do our regular stuff using these credentials.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's keep it simple by creating everything inside. Still return the view. Let's
Could
make
you?
an API. Yeah.
One thing I'm interested, how much of this package, for example, is needed, or what at all is needed. So could you just return a string hello world, and let's see what happens on our Shopify app? So if all this JavaScript, for example, and so on is really needed, or if it still shows this hello world string.
Okay, yeah. But it will be it will not be able to deal with session tokens.
Don't spoil us.
Okay.
We want to see what happens.
Okay.
I want to see Shopify on fire.
And where were we? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to reload the frame. Hello
Okay.
world. But
So-
I want to break it now.
Yeah. But as like you said,
But if
I
we try
assume-
to navigate from here to another URL, then it will possibly break because it is not able to get the session token from Shopify. But oh wait,
So it
Yeah.
does partially work, but it has definitely a limited set of features available.
yeah, it is.
Okay. So like the ignition, for example, that's in first place we have seen in the iframe. Ignition definitely also has all these session token JavaScript things, but it was visible, so Shopify doesn't display any whatever
The session
your
tokens that are
HTML
being
isn't. Yeah.
okay. You're saying?
So, no, I just wanted to see if Shopify really requires some of this JavaScript, for example, and if it isn't present, it doesn't render the whole frame. So like if there isn't one instance of this app bridge inside of the frame, I just kill it or whatever. Or if they render it and you only have a limited set of features, like you said, like I can't navigate to sub pages or do some interactive stuff.
Yeah.
This was
When I was working with Inertia, there was a problem with Axios and the requests happening between two URLs. Like when I'm going from about home page to about page, it wasn't able to get the session token, so it was failing because of that. But in this case, if we try to add some navigation, maybe it will fail too. Maybe we will see down the line what happens. Cool. Let's make an API call to Shopify.
That's the moment Steve has waited for. If you say API on stream, Steve is there.
Okay. Can you can you hide and show comments on the screen? Are
No.
you able to do so?
I can
Okay.
only see comments, so I can tell you if someone has any questions or whatever.
Okay,
So like
do let me know.
20 minutes ago, so hype Navas. Don't blame me if it's wrong. I have no idea with Pakistani names. Said that our attitude to love errors and all these unwanted things away is definitely what they need as newcomers to see that even, let's say, experienced developers do mistakes.
Yeah.
And I can
good,
definitely absolutely second it. So I don't know how it's about you, but I'm doing mistakes all the time during my day job. So it's more about knowing how to solve them quickly and don't get stuck than don't doing mistakes at all in a senior stage.
Yeah. The guy who commented this, he is like super genius, man. He was he was topper of our
She's a
class.
newcomer. Sorry.
He's really good. Yeah. Okay, it's time to make the first API call, and here's how we can do it. It's mentioned in the documentation. First of all, we are going to get the currently authenticated shop, and there is a helper method for that. We can use the auth user, and then it's some package stuff to native. It's converting it to string, for example, Textify local.myshopify.com, and it's converting it to the string. And then it's making Shopify API call and getting the response back, which is associative array. So we can get some information about the shop. This is the basic endpoint for accessing the shop information. What we can do here is make, first of all, we get the user, and then we get the domain. We really need the domain. Where are we using it? Okay, it's just to log the information. We don't really need it. We just need the shop instance, the user, and then just make the API call. The user, and yes, API. Okay. Shop, and let's see. And let's just dump it. We are really there should be IntelliSense with us
It's
all the
illuminate
time.
support facades.
Okay.
Like the route one you have imported on line 3.
Oh, good one. Let's see if we are able to fetch the orders. Reload frame. Okay. Orders. Undefined index.
So at least it has received something.
Yeah, it is able to make the Shopify API calls. Yeah. So this is how we can make the Shopify API calls and receive the response. It's the body, and there is no orders. That's why.
Yeah, but the orders key should be present, or?
Yeah. Let's just create a dummy order.
And there was a container wrapping key around it.
Okay, there are also no products. So I guess
You've
let's
picked
go
the
back
best
to
test job.
Okay.
So if you go
maybe
open
it
this
is
body,
and then orders. I think it should work. Yeah, but it's still container and response access. There must be something body, shop, and name. Okay. Let's try with the shop endpoint. See if we can get anything useful out of Shopify. Trying to access array offset and value of type null. This is also not working. What's going on with this?
Body or shop?
Yeah.
It's a body or shop array key, so again, you could dump the whole.
Come on.
So documentation is definitely up to date.
Yeah, it is. There was a problem loading this website. I think Shopify is also having some problems today. As you can see, there is a server error.
Guys, stop playing with Shopify. We want to show you how to do it.
Oh my God.
Silence.
Okay. So this is documented on the package that this is how you can access the shop. But I think we are having some difficulty with Shopify itself.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with this. API REST.
I see already something on Shopify status. No, Shopify status says everything is working.
Maybe it's something related to development stores. Let's test it on another store. What does Sushi want?
I don't know.
Sushi wants to...
Do you also want to be famous on camera? Yeah. Get up.
She looks brighter. I think it's definitely something wrong on Shopify side because this is not our error page. Wow, Shopify just chose the right time to blow things up.
Say, Shopify doesn't want new app developers. Yeah, I've already checked it, and yeah, everything is working.
Okay, what's going on? I haven't seen this error screen before, to be honest. Maybe check our logs. Why we have all these things? No.
Yeah, you should delete the Laravel log file and do another request to get a fresh one.
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
It was a log file. Okay.
Yeah. That was
Too many
causing
errors.
Okay, so this endpoint is working, and also the orders endpoint was working, but then we didn't have any orders on the store, so yeah, it was empty. But
Yeah.
this is the usage of the package and how easy it is to make API calls using this package. And there's also something that I'd like to mention, that Shopify offers us two types of APIs, RESTful API and GraphQL API. RESTful API, I think they are, anytime soon, they are going to stop working on that. But they are adding new things, adding new features to GraphQL API, and they really encourage developers to use the GraphQL API instead of RESTful API.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm going to learn GraphQL properly, and maybe also
Something also GitHub has done, I think, last year already, or even 2 years ago. And they are also only adding new features to the GraphQL API, and I think even some other vendors are promoting GraphQL. It makes their API side a lot easier for them, and much more flexible and powerful for the users, because you can build, or in its simplest form, GraphQL APIs are more like a SQL query, for example. So you can do things like joining and so on. And as a Shopify API provider, you only define all these relations. So, for example, a shop can have several orders. An order has several order lines. One of the order lines has a product relation. And after you have defined all these things and how which attributes and so on you have on each of the objects, what you as a user and API consumer can do is say, give me the order with ID 1, 2, 3, for example, and all order lines, but I don't need any order line attribute. I only want from the product relation the price, for example. And this is what GraphQL provides.
I did some work on it when I was working at Edition, and yeah, it is really cool. But there is one problem that it's not a problem, but just lack of knowledge about that topic, is that the cost of the query and how it deals with rate limiting stuff. Instead, like how many requests you can make with the RESTful API. In GraphQL, you have to calculate the cost. Is it same like GitHub?
Yeah, exactly. So there isn't even an official rule, at least on GitHub. I don't know about Shopify. They only say, if your query gets too complex and loads too much data, you don't only consume like 1 credit of your possibly requests, but for example 2 or even 3 or whatever. But in my experience, at least for GitHub, you have to build like a similar like a select asterisk from database. So really something like all orders with all order lines, all product information related. In that case, you will definitely consume some more credits. But if you only do some deep nesting and only select 1 attribute per object, in my experience, you still consume only 1 of these 1,000, 5,000, whatever requests. So in my experience, it isn't that like you really have to worry about it. Only if you do really heavy requests.
Okay. But I think Shopify's rate limit is like really strict with GraphQL requests. So we quickly reached the limit when we were trying to make the API requests. So we had to like split up them and make multiple requests.
How many requests does Shopify allow per hour or minute or whatever?
It uses an algorithm called leaky bucket algorithm, and it allows 2 requests per. I'm not sure about that. Let's just quickly Google it. Because the reason is that this package that we are using automatically handles the rate limit for us, so we don't have to worry about that. So with GraphQL, we have points like how much our query is costing us per second, and with admin API REST endpoints, we have 2 requests per second.
Yeah. Calculated query costs. Apps can make requests that cost a maximum number of points per minute, for example, 1,000 points within 60 seconds.
Yeah.
More complex requests cost more points and therefore take up a proportional larger share of the limit. This method is used by GraphQL.
Yeah.
Cost calculation. Cost value. An object has a cost of... Yeah, I have the same page open right now. An object has a cost of 1, interface also of 1, union of 1. Place Shopify also reserves the right to set manual costs on fields. Mutations have a default okay.
I can show you something that will give you an idea about the costs. For example, we make this query to Shopify, and it also returns these extensions and the cost. Actual query cost 1 and things like that. But if we are going to make something bigger, of course, the query cost will increase.
Yeah, so far I've seen it is 1 point per object. So if you select like 100 orders, for example, it will be 100 points.
Yeah.
That's my understanding, but it could also be wrong.
I think we got distracted with these and we left the topic.
Yeah. So you have 100 orders and also the edges and node objects between. So you have a cost of 102. That's what you requested because
this is the requested query cost.
Exactly. And I assume that you only have 18 orders. That's why, or 16. That's why your actual query cost is 18.
But why add 2?
Because of this edges and node object you have in between.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is the currently available points that we have and that we can use to make GraphQL requests.
Yeah.
This is the maximum one. And there is also cursor-based pagination, but yeah, that's another story. Okay, so far we were able to install the app, go with the authentication, and being able to make an API call using Shopify and Laravel package. What's the time that we have spent?
1 hour and 40 minutes.
So if we start with other stuff like Polaris and React, I think it will definitely take more time. So how about we do that in another stream?
Yeah.
What say you?
I think adding this whole new topic of Polaris, I assume is like the UI library for Shopify.
Yeah.
Do you have to use it with React, Vue.js or something, or can you also use it as plain HTML?
Yes, we can use it as plain HTML, but you will be really afraid to see the HTML that it spits out.
Okay, you can, but you don't want to.
but you don't want to, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to use the React components, which are I think less scarier than the HTML version. And then when you use the HTML, you also have to work with JavaScript and introduce some libraries for yourself, like Vue or maybe Alpine, if you're feeling like that.
I think the first Shopify app related thing I would do is creating a Laravel Blade component library for Polaris. So I can use plain HTML with Blade and drop in some Alpine.js.
But there are lots of these components, so I think it will take a lot of time. So why not learn some React and use that?
Because I couldn't earn money with learning React.
I think
but I can sell a Blade component library to you and get some share of your earnings by creating Shopify apps.
So what's your impression so far about Shopify app development? What do you think about it?
I think the process is definitely pretty straightforward and flexible.
Yeah.
Because of this, you have full control how you develop things, which framework language and all this stuff. You even aren't limited what would be some of my expectations, but didn't prove truth. That you are at least limited if you want to use this embedded apps, how it was named. But even there, you are totally... Yeah, AppBridge and embedded apps, so you work in the iframe. But even there, you have full control over everything. So this is pretty amazing. And I think the biggest problem for me right now is like imagine something I would or could create with an app. Because I also have no idea about the Shopify ecosystem, what Shopify itself provides, and which apps are already available and so on.
So if you are looking for some discussions and some ideas, there is Shopify Community, and you can merchants, real merchants also tend to hang around here and do some question and answers about the apps and their stores. So you can watch their discussions, listen to them, and maybe you will get some ideas.
Yeah.
They also have a Discord community.
But from technical perspective, as a developer, it's definitely some cool stuff to work with, I think. Because you create your own app and only consume some API endpoints. So you don't have any restrictions and can do how you like it.
Yeah. Unlike WordPress, where you have to provide the code and someone else can modify it and do some stuff with that. In this case, you have to host your app and you have full control over it. You can take control of your infrastructure too and optimize your apps according to that.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I think we are done for today. There are still 4 viewers. thank you guys for sticking with us. I hope
Yeah.
it helped you in some way, and maybe we will see you again. Cool.
Have a nice evening, day, night, morning, whatever time zone you are.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much, Tom, for joining me and
Thank
helping
you
me
for
out with the
showing
text.
me. Yeah, thank you for showing me Shopify.
Yeah.
So I
I
know next
hope.
time if I recommend someone doing his shop on Shopify,
There is
I at least
also
know what I recommend.
there's also an affiliate program, and you can earn money while recommending Shopify. So yeah, cool.
Okay.
See you
Bye.
then. Bye bye.